can be manufactured. It's a one-of-a-kind experience, which I'm proud to share through my story of overcoming my circumstances.
Popular tour boat to explode, killing one American woman and injuring at least 9 others.
These are pictures of the duo taken the day before tragedy struck. They were enjoying a romantic getaway when the engine of the tour boat they were on suddenly exploded off the coast of Exuma.
My story will inspire others to live life more fully and with greater joy. I endured great adversity. But in the end, my experience gave me the strength for when things get tough.
Hello and welcome to our broadcast of Beyond the Shackles. My name is Chaplain Euvonka Farabee. I am your host for the show. As you know, with our show, typically we deal with anything associated with the incarcerated, disenfranchised, and their families, but we never stop there because what we know is that you don't have to be behind physical bars to be in shackles in your heart and your mind. But you don't have to worry because what we believe here on the Holy Spirit Broadcasting Network, as well as on Beyond the Shackles, by the blood of Jesus, all can be set free. If you're watching, you just watched a clip of our guest today, who is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm going to introduce him and read a little bit. I'm going to read his bio, and then I'll introduce him to you. But he's someone you don't want to miss this show. And his name is Tiran Jackson. He's an inspirational figure, impacting the lives of countless individuals with his powerful story, as you just got a little glimpse of it. After achieving professional success as an engineer, he endured tragedy and loss that threatened to derail his dreams. But instead of succumbing to despair, which many would have, Tiran took these devastating experiences as opportunities for personal growth, leading him to seek out a new purpose in life, helping others find their strength amidst setbacks. We have a lot in common here. Without further ado, I want to introduce to you Tiran Jackson.
Good afternoon, Dr. Euvonka. How are you?
Good after. I am blessed, and I'm so excited, Tiran, to have you on our broadcast today and to share your story with the world. Now, we watched that clip. Can you give us a little bit more insight on what was happening and what we were looking at there? What was taking place, and what happened to bring you to that place?
So to give you a background as to what happened, this was about 4.5 years ago. At that point in time, my wife Malika and I, we were getting ready to celebrate a momentous celebratory occasion. Mm-hmm. We were getting ready to be on our 15th wedding anniversary. So we were actually on vacation celebrating that time. Mm-hmm. We had both been, first off, making it to 15 years is a blessing with someone, and to really love that person is also great as well. Yes. So as we were leading up to getting to this point in our life, we had been very busy. She had been recently promoted as a director in HR at a Fortune 500 company. So she was having to travel quite a bit between where we live in Atlanta, Georgia, and Chicago and other places because of the demands of her new job. Mm-hmm. I was working as an engineering manager, and I had to travel as well. So basically our lives was, she was gone for 1 week, then she would come back home, and then I would go out of town, and our son was 12 years old at the time. So one of us needed to be here. So we were really, really not getting to connect as much as we were used to connecting before. So this anniversary trip was intended to be a great opportunity for us to just be able to calm things down in our life, be able to relax and enjoy ourselves, and really celebrate that covenant, that bond of being married and being able to move forward with the rest of our lives. Mm-hmm. So she and I both were looking forward to this trip. The day before we actually took the trip, I actually drove up to Nashville, Tennessee. I took my son to stay with his aunt and uncle to let him know that, look, we're going to be gone for a week. But 1 week from now, I'll be back there to pick him up. and he was good. Mom and dad had been on vacation numerous times before, and he was excited. He was going to spend some time with his family, get to play with their dog, eat some ice cream, stay up late, all of these things
Yes.
that he was going to be on vacation.
Yes.
So, I left him in a great space emotionally and mentally because he thought he was going to have a good time, and he thought mom and dad were going to be back in a week. So the next day we flew to the Bahamas. We were staying at an all-inclusive resort, and everything was good. The first 2 days we had a wonderful time, had some time at the beach, some time at the pool, some fruity drinks, really some time to really spend together and enjoy our getaway and enjoy what we were celebrating. On the third day of the trip, we thought we were going to do something a little bit adventurous, and we decided that we were actually going to leave the resort and book one of these boating excursions to be able to tour and see part of the island. Nothing crazy. People do this all the time.
All the time.
And don't think anything about it. So we thought that we would leave the resort and spend a half day touring the island on this excursion. We wake up that morning at 6:30 in the morning, all excited, get our stuff packed. We go to breakfast, have a delicious breakfast. Everything is good. 7:30, we're at the edge of the resort. The first couple, they're excited and really anticipating this great opportunity this time there. We stand there, we see other couples who are on vacation, loving life, joining us as we wait for this bus to come and pick us up. But we were looking forward to it and thinking that this was going to be the highlight of our trip.
Yeah.
About 8 o'clock, the bus comes and picks us up, and we have a couple of stops to make on the way. But at about 8:40, we get to this marina where we're actually going to go on this tour. About 8:50, we check in. We're getting ready to walk down this pier. And at the end of this pier, there are two boats, one on the left side doing a half-day tour, one on the right side doing a full-day tour. We had decided we were going to do the half-day tour because I was planning to go back and play golf that afternoon at the resort. And she was looking to get back and spend some time at the pool and read and everything. So we thought we wouldn't spend the whole day out there. We would just only spend, a couple of hours and then go back and continue enjoying the rest of our time at the resort. 9 o'clock, we get on this boat and the boat takes off. And as we're leaving, we're sitting there talking, and I'm thinking to myself, this is paradise. This is wonderful. Weather's perfect. You can smell the aroma of the sea, and I could see some.
What country is this, by the way?
We were in the Bahamas.
Okay.
We were in the Bahamas. So everything seemed to be great, and everything seemed to be going perfectly fine. And then I recall sitting there. I had my left arm over Malika, and I was thinking to myself, this is going to be a perfect day. And at 9:08, my life changed forever. I found myself waking up face down on the surface of a burning boat.
Ooh.
I didn't realize what had happened, and there was no indication beforehand. But unbeknownst to us, there was a fuel leak that was emanating from the fuel tank. And the fuel tank was directly below where Malika and I were sitting. And as a result of this, it caused the boat to explode.
Oh, gosh.
As I wake up from being unconscious, and the only reason why I woke up was because my right thigh was literally on fire. It was burning. You know how, like, if you put your hand over a charcoal grill to test it out and see how hot it is, and it's really hot? Well, that's how my right thigh was. It was literally so close to the flames that my skin was burning, and that's what woke me up from being unconscious. As I was coming to, I could look up and I could see the second boat that took off the same time that we did. They weren't too far away from us, maybe about 50 yards away from us. And I could see the passengers on that boat yelling, "Get off the boat, get off the boat." And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I need to get off of this boat. I don't know what's happened, but let me get off the boat. So I try to push myself up and I crumble. And I try to push myself up again. And I didn't know it at the time, but my left collarbone was broken in 4 places. So I couldn't do it. As I was raising up, I glanced down and I could see my left foot, and my left foot was dangling. I could see my ankle bone.
Wow.
It was hanging out. It was blood all over the place. And the only thing that I could do in order to get myself away from those flames was use my right arm, my right hand, and reach my fingers tips out into the ridge, put them in the ridges on the surface of the boat, just to drag myself away and drag my body for about 10 feet before I pass out again.
Mm.
Now, by the grace of God, and due to the kindness of some of these passengers on that second boat, they risked their lives. The water was still shallow. They were able to swim over to me and pull me off the edge of the boat before the second fuel tank exploded.
Oh my God.
So, so here I am trying to come to. They got me back over to the second boat, and my only question was, "Where is my wife? Where is Malika?"
Yes.
Well, she was thrown out into the water in a different direction, and there happened to be a small passenger boat that was out there, and they picked her up and put her on that boat. So she had been taken to shore by somebody else. The boat that I was on, when we got to shore, there had to be there was no ambulance. I was actually put on a piece of plywood on the back of a pickup truck being carried to this clinic.
My goodness.
And I was asking questions about Malika, and she had apparently gotten ashore elsewhere. They had gotten her on an ambulance, and she was already on her way to the clinic.
So at this time she was alive.
At this time, she was alive. Yes.
Okay.
And I had to go on this bumpy ride on the back of a pickup truck on a piece of plywood with more injuries than I even realized at that time to get to this clinic. And when I get there, they put me on a stretcher and they wheel me in. And as they wheel me in, I finally hear Malika. She is in agony. She is in pain. She is crying. She is yelling. And I am thinking to myself, God, what about my wife? Why is she going through this?
Yeah.
They wheel me into a bay. There's 3 bays in this clinic. The first bay is where Malika is. The second bay, there was one other passenger, and she was horribly injured, and I could hear her moaning and yelling as well. And they put me in this third bay. And as I'm laying there, I'm trying to be as still and quiet as possible, and I'm praying to God that my wife is okay. I'm in bad shape, but I'm hoping that she's okay. And so I'm trying to listen as much as I can to hear how she's doing and hear what's going on with her. There's one doctor there. And this one doctor, he finally comes to me. And my first question to him is, how is my wife? And he doesn't answer me. Now, I noticed that things had gotten quieter by the time he had gotten to me. But the doctor told me, Mr. Jackson, we're going to send you and this one other passenger to the good hospital, and which meant they were going to put me on an air ambulance and fly me from the island that we were on to Nassau, to where the actual hospital was at. And so it led me to believe that Malika must be doing better off than the two of us. And so I was thinking to myself, well, maybe she's okay. And I was trying to rationalize it. Maybe they've given her some medication, so she's quiet or calm and something of that nature. So the next thing I know, I'm being put on an airplane, flown to the hospital. And as soon as I get to this hospital, and the doctor at that first clinic told me that she would be coming later. So that led me to think that she was going to be okay.
I understand.
So I get to that hospital. I go into the emergency room. The doctors are trying to evaluate me. And my question when is my wife here yet? Because I'm thinking enough time has passed for the same air ambulance to take me to the hospital, to fly back to Exuma, which was the island that we were on for the vacation, and get her back there. And they really don't say anything. They just prep me and tell me that I have to go to surgery. They were going to try to reattach what was left of my left foot to my leg. Mm-hmm. And so the next thing I know, I'm being put under to go into surgery. And I wake up. It's about 5 or 6 hours later. And I find myself in ICU. And I'm thinking to myself when I come to, surely Malika has to be here by now.
Yeah.
So when I wake up, 2 doctors come into my room. And my first question to them is, where is my wife? How is my wife? And the 2 doctors, they look at each other. And then they walk out the room. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm asking the most obvious question possible. She should be here by now. So they should tell me where she is. So after a couple of minutes, the two doctors come back in the room. They look at me. They say, Mr. Jackson, we hate to inform you, but your wife didn't make it. Now, I'm an optimist. I'm trying to rationalize this. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think she didn't make it here yet. There must have been something with the
Yeah.
airplane, something going on, and that she's on her way. She just hasn't made it here yet.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell me, no, your wife died at that clinic. We didn't want you to know because you were going through all of these other things. So they didn't want to tell you, and we didn't want to tell you.
Yeah, and they want you to be able to fight, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we, like I said, we were having the time of our lives in paradise on vacation. And just like that, I had to come to grips with the fact that my wife, my best friend, my lover, the mother of my child, was no longer here. I cried
Boy.
sleep that night. So the next morning, I had to call my son and tell him over the phone that your mom's not coming home.
And he was 9 years old, he said at
He
the
was
time.
12 years
He
old
was
at the
12
time.
years old. He was
12
12
years
years
old at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear him on the other end trying to come to grips and realize the fact that mom and dad had been in a horrible accident and mom was no longer going to be here was difficult to
That
hear.
must have been just as difficult almost as
It,
the losing of your spouse. I couldn't
it,
imagine
it
having
was
to be a parent delivering that type of news.
right, right.
So
And
tell me this, Tyran, because there's so much in this story, and I know where you are today, and we have limited time, but can you express to us from the point um, of despair, which is
yeah.
what where you were in this moment? What was the path like to try to rebuild yourself? What was the extent of your injury, and what did you have to do? We saw the video. So you lost your leg, and so you had to learn how to walk and do all those things all over again. But what about your heart condition and your spirit, and your drive? How did your faith play a part in that, and what was the road like? At first going through, and what shifted for you?
So there was a critical moment through this process where things shifted for me. First off, let me just go back for a second.
Hmm.
Later that same day, after I had to go through that, um, they had tried to reattach my left foot, like I stated, and it caused infection to go through my body. And I was laying in the bed, and the EKG monitor over my head, I saw all of my vital signs go from green to yellow to red. And I started to come to grips with the fact as I was praying to God that I was about to die.
Mm,
And so that was a moment where I was truly in despair. I was broken physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And
everything.
I thought that I was about to be gone as well. My son was going to grow up without either of his parents. Now, there were a lot of things that were happening in the background. And that next morning, I woke up and I was being taken from this hospital in the Bahamas to a grade A trauma unit in Florida. And as soon as I got there, they said they were going to do whatever they needed to in order for me to survive. And one of those things was that they were going to take what was left of my left leg
Hmm.
because that's where the infection was coming from. I ended up having a broken right foot, second-degree burns on my right leg, a fractured pelvis, a fractured vertebrae, bruised ribs. My collarbone was broken in 4 places. So I was in a very, very difficult state
Yeah.
physically, and I had to go through multiple surgeries over the course of a couple of days. And then there was one day, 2 days after that, where I had to go through 4 surgeries in one day. And then and I was really unstable.
Yeah.
The next day, as I was starting to recover and come to grips with what happened, this was 5 days after the accident. And I was praying to God and I was talking to him and he was talking to me and he said, if I wanted to take you, I could have taken you when that boat exploded. I
Wow.
could have taken you when your vitals went from green to yellow to red. I could have taken you after you went through all of those surgeries and you were still unstable, but I'm keeping you here for a reason.
Hmm.
And he told me in that time that the life that you had before is no longer here. It's no longer going to be what your life is going to be like in the future. And the message that was clear to me was that He told me to be resilient, that the
Mhm.
obstacles that I'm going through were nothing compared to the obstacles that I was going to have to face in the future. And so with that, that was the moment where my mindset, my heart, my spirit shifted to
Mhm.
from, at least initially, from feeling bad about everything that happened to me and feeling pity for myself to knowing that God has put a mission on me.
Yeah.
Whatever I got to face, I've got to be resilient and overcome it. I got to be able to bounce back from whatever I'm facing in order to be powerful and strong to get through it. I use this quote where I say that resilience is not about regaining what was lost, but about reshaping what still remains. And it's
Yes.
how we react to that adversity that determines what we do with what still remains. And so
Absolutely.
that was the start of it. Now, there was a lot that had to happen physically for me to get to a place where I could even hope to walk again. But having that mindset, and once I started doing physical therapy, the doctors had said it would be 8 months before I could get a prosthetic and possibly be able to walk again. I was walking in 3.5 months. I started learning how to, how to jump and how to jog, and it took some while. They had me on this treadmill that basically made me half the weight that I truly was because my legs were so weak once I started wearing this prosthetic and trying to learn how to use it and everything. But like I said, the walk turned into a jog, and the jog turned into a run, and the run turned into me running 5Ks, things I had never done before. So that was a testament
Even
of,
even with two legs, huh?
even with two legs. That wasn't what I was doing before. So, but this is a testament of what God can do for you, even in the worst situations that we face. Physically, He allowed me to be able to bounce back, so I could be there for for my son. And let me share this one story here. It was about a year before the accident, and Malika and I, we were sitting in our basement. We were watching a movie, and it was a movie where something tragic happened to somebody, and we had one of these what if conversations. What if something were to happen to me?
Yeah.
And what she said when I asked her the question was, if something were to happen to her, she wouldn't want me to grieve for too long. She wouldn't want me to not go out and be happy again in life. But the thing that resonated most was that she said that if she were no longer here, she would want me to do everything I could to make sure that the only part of her that was still left here on this earth was well taken care of. And that was our son, Cameron.
Amen.
And knowing that gave me the times where I didn't have the will to get up and push and
Hmm.
fight and be strong. Knowing that that was her wish upon me got me moving and got me going. When I didn't want to have to deal with the pain, the grief, the frustration of having to overcome, you know, deal with the emotions associated with this, I
Yeah.
thought about how I had to be strong and be there for him. So all of these things were areas in which it strengthened my will to not only survive this, but to thrive from it and push me in order to do more. So
That's amazing. Now, can you share with us? You said God said to you to be resilient, to be resilient. What, if you could share with someone who may be going through a very challenging time in life? Doesn't have to be like what you're going through, or it could be some semblance of it, or just whatever experience somebody might be having where they don't know if they can push forward. When God said to you to be resilient, what did that mean to you, and what did you do to help support you in the process of pressing toward the mark of your high calling?
you're right. Um, so what that meant to me was that I was going to have a determination, a level of perseverance, a level of discipline, a level of consistency beyond what I had ever experienced and had before. I was going to have to deal with challenges that I didn't never experienced before.
Hmm.
And I had to approach those with the right attitude and the right willingness to know that this is part of my journey. It put me in a place where it was almost me being outside of my body, having to look at myself and say, this is what you need to do. And so, as I was going through not just the physical recovery, because it's easy to document or talk through the physical recovery, but the spiritual recovery, the
Yeah.
emotional recovery.
Hmm.
I suffer from depression, anxiety, PTSD, and survivor's remorse
Yes.
from all of this. And to be able to not allow those things to pull me into a place where I didn't want to move forward with life was something I was going to have to counter. And you know, I always know and this is one of my favorite Bible scriptures. There was a time where I was reading. This was a couple of weeks after the accident, and Jeremiah 29:11 came up, and it was intended that this was something I needed to see and hear. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. I went from being hopeless and thinking that my life was no longer going to be anything worth living to realize that with God with me, I still had a future left. So,
Yes, that's amazing. That's amazing. And in this short time we have left, because God has been great and have met you um, at your point of greatest need during all of this, and you're remarried and you're a motivational speaker. How can someone get in contact with you if they want you to come and speak for them? If they want to get your book, how can they contact you?
So my platform is called Reborn Resilient because I was reborn on that day. And so if anyone wants to get in contact with me, if you want to book me for speaking opportunities or learn more about how I help people going through traumas, tragedies, and their transitions in life and make the transformation so they can become triumphant, please go to www.rebornresilient.com. You can also find me anywhere on socials, either under Reborn Resilient or Tiran Jackson Official. That's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. All of those are ways to get in contact with me, as well as with my email, tyranjackson@rebornresilient.com. So I'm out there. I understand my purpose is to help others out there in the world who are going through their own pains, which, God left me here for.
And I think that is awesome. I would highly encourage anyone to reach out to Tyran to for speaking engagements, Zoom, in person. Get his book at the very least. We're also going to have him on our show next week. So you don't want to miss that show as well, because we're going to be talking about more about what it really means to take action and be resilient. But with this, we're going to close out our broadcast. And I want to thank Tiran Jackson for being with us today on Beyond the Shackles. And for all of you watching, thank you to my viewing audience. And by the blood of Jesus, all can be set free. And we love you, and God bless you.